on the CANSA Couch with Megan and Kudzai.
Hello everyone, it is so wonderful to be with you today. We've got a really exciting topic. I think something that's going to really be of interest to all of us. So Kudzai, who is my co-host. Hello Kudzai, how are you today?
Hi Megan, thank you for joining us as we spotlight health, hope, and sometimes share a lot of info about CANSA's Seal of Recognition program. I'm really excited to be here with you again, and as we continue building on our podcasts and learning more and listening to our guests today.
Thank you. And I want to say we are going to talk about something really, I think, helpful for all of us. So it's about corporate wellness and cancer in the workplace, something I think that is not always touched on, but something I would like to today give the spotlight. And our first guest that I'd like to introduce us to is Marcel. And I'm very excited to basically introduce you to Marcel. Marcel, hi, she's a cancer survivor. And she'll be our guest along with Lorraine. Hello, Lorraine. And
hi.
We're chatting as Marcel is a transformation change manager in corporate and in life and consciousness coach. And she's based in Cape Town in South Africa. And I think that's a really exciting, place in terms of navigating life. But not only that, Marcel has stage 4 lung cancer, and she shares at this point her personal journey to support others facing difficult diagnoses with courage, with mindfulness, and with grace. Marcel D Allende, hello.
Hello, Megan and Kudzai and Lorraine. It is such a pleasure to join you guys today on your podcast. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share a little bit of my journey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcel. Joining us also is Lorraine Govender. She's our CANSA National Manager for Health Programs, and she's here to unpack CANSA's Employee Wellness Program and how this program can make a difference in your organization. Welcome, Lorraine. Thank you for joining us again on the CANSA Couch.
Thank you, Kudzai. It's only a pleasure to be here.
Okay, then let's jump in.
Absolutely. And if I can jump away by saying, Marcel, if I may put you on the spot here, as a cancer survivor and who has worked in the corporate world and who's done business coaching, today, what was your experience like navigating a diagnosis like this while working? And there's a lot of questions I have to ask, so I want to ask them at once, but at the same time, I'm going to say, what would you say, your experience was like, and what support made the biggest difference to you?
Yeah, that's a huge question, but thank you for that. So I think I want to just go back a little bit here in the sense as in I was working on a project when I was diagnosed, and I'm in a very fortunate position that I have my own company. And typically I work for corporate clients. And the corporate client that I worked for at that time, I'd worked for them for several years on various projects. So there was already an established relationship of trust between my client and I. And when I was diagnosed, it was in December in 21, because we were on a break period for Christmas time, I decided to first have my my oncology plan in place, and which I knew was going to happen before going back to work again, before I actually engaged my my client and explained what the situation was. And I thought that that was key because for me, it's all about clarity. And if I'm not clear about something, how do I expect the person on the receiving end to have the clarity? So I did wait a bit. And what that afforded me as well was that mental peace that I knew where I was heading. And what I then did was once that clarity was there, I then engaged the CIO who I typically work with and took him through what the planning was for the systemic treatment that I was going to be receiving. I think most companies are open to having these conversations. And I think that they were extremely supportive, told me that I have full flexibility and freedom to pop into work, pop out of work, etc. And again, I think that because I was clear about what that was going to look like, and I took them through that program, it helped us to then navigate if I should be backfilled, when would I need to be backfilled, and what that backfilling would then look like. And so that's the first part of the question that I'm answering. The other part of that was that for both of us in the conversation, it was, so this is the plan. But as we know, because we deal with projects all the time, things don't always go according plan, right? So we need to be flexible. And with that flexibility, what I then requested was, if things change, because I'm a very positive person just by nature, I may be looking at this without having the experience of going through it and telling you that I'll be able to give you X amount of hours. Should anything change on my side, I will be communicating back to you about what the position is so that we can then readjust the plan. So I think flexibility on my side, being open to being flexible and not normally, I would say, I'm committed to doing this. I've given you my word and I will follow through. But was also honoring myself in that journey by saying, I have no idea what I'm stepping into here. This is the plan. This is where we're heading. However, both of us need to be flexible here. And I think that was received really well. And the support I got from the organization was really huge.
Marcel, I think that's such an important information that you've shared with us, especially for all our people like listening to us and being part of this. If you now look back, would you have changed anything?
No, absolutely not.
So it's
I think the biggest thing is you need to have your clarity first. I know that the impulse would be, I've just been diagnosed, let me go and tell my line manager, my supervisor, whoever, and you don't have clarity about what your treatment plan is going to look like. Some people are going to be open to that. Some people are not going to be open to that. And again, there was a trust relationship here already between my client and I. And I think that if I had just gone and said, okay, I've been diagnosed, I don't know what's going to happen, it wouldn't have opened up a bigger dialogue, right? And the bigger dialogue is, I'm not saying I'm not working for you guys any longer, that I'm breaking my contract with you. I'm saying that this is the plan and we need to work through this plan together. So giving them space as well as giving myself space to navigate through that plan.
I think that is so important. And then I think it's also important just to mention, we look, obviously from my side, from a nutritional perspective, I always look at physical health. And I'd like us to touch on that a little bit and what your journey was, regarding that, if you don't mind. And then, of course, emotional and mental well-being, being such an important part. in the workplace wellness. So can you maybe just give us a little bit of background, how you navigated basically from a physical perspective, looking at things like nutrition, etc., and then obviously moving into the emotional and mental, realm regarding your diagnosis and your whole journey with this?
So that is a very important question, Megan. Thank you for that. So I looked at it from different angles holistically, right? So I did not go and study to be an oncologist. I'm not so I leave to the professionals what the professionals need to do. So that's the first thing. But what I was very clear on is that holistically, I'm not going to get through this unless I take responsibility for certain aspects of this journey. One of the aspects for me, which was one of the, I guess, more important ones for me, was the mental side of things. If my mental state wasn't optimal, then it wouldn't matter what the medical practitioners did, because my mental state would not be in an open and a receiving, and also positively for healing. And so that was important. I needed to take responsibility for my inner world. The second part that I needed to take responsibility for is my physical movement. And I call it physical movement because I am an avid hiker. And up to that point in my life, I was fit, right? And but I also did not challenge myself to the point that I was going to scale high mountains. If I could on a daily basis consistently move physically, I felt I was doing good. Yeah?
Yes.
Then the most important one is the nutrition aspect of it. So great, I'm working on keeping my inner world positive and hopeful. I'm keeping my physical being moving forward. But now something else needs to happen. I need to also make sure that I'm getting the nutrients that I need into my body. And that's when I reached out to a CANSA dietitian and asked for support in what would that look like? What should I be doing differently? Because I didn't think that I was an unhealthy eater to start with. I've always listened to my body, but I knew that my body's going to need something different. And the dietitian was amazing as in guiding me about sometimes you're not going to be able to even look at food. I want your relationship with food to change. Food is no longer food. Food is medicine. When that penny dropped in my head, it was, okay, how do I ensure that I'm keeping the nutrients up in my body? And another key thing that was imparted in that conversation is stop looking at meals as in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We typically have 3 meals a day. Is sometimes you're not going to be able to eat. So rather look at doing smaller portions, but having regular intake. And so I became an avid fan of soups. And something else is typically in our household, my husband is the chef. But I knew that in this case, I needed to take responsibility. I needed to know, based on the information that was imparted, how do I get a really punch in my soup? What kind of legumes or what kind of vegetables really adds that punch from a nutritional level? So in those days that I can only really get down a half a cup of soup, I know exactly what is in that soup. So I'm going to choose the most potent bowl there that I can really get the nutrients into my body. So those were the 3 areas that I felt it was important for me to take responsibility for. from a mental well-being perspective, and then reaching out to the organization for support as well as in my personal life, energy becomes extremely important. Now, starting off, I'm extremely energetic on a normal day, right? But I knew that this was going to obviously impact my energy levels as I go through the systemic treatments, etc. So with that in mind, I said, okay, for the work, there are some people that needed to be kept up to date with all of the information and in my personal life. And I said, I cannot be having these conversations over and over with various people. Number one, it's going to drain my energy. Number two, it's just repeating the same information over and over. It has a potential to bring you down as opposed to, energizing you. So I reached out again to the CIO. I said, do you mind if I put you into a WhatsApp group? And that is going to then be one update that I'm going to do for everybody. It is the same update. I don't have the energy to give anybody individual updates. And then some key people at work as well, I added them to the group as well. And that is how I did my updates. And that was purely to save my energy, because as we go into these conversations, one thing for me was very clear. I'm so much more than my disease. My disease does not define who I am at this particular moment, and it didn't define me then. So I have to be very, very careful that the conversations then, when people reach out to me one-on-one, like the CIO would, or peers at work would, or friends would, is that the conversations are not about cancer. We've got a group for that, guys. Now it's a conversation as in all of the other aspects of my life and your life, and how do we catch up, and how do we maintain our relationships, whether it's a work relationship or whether it is a personal relationship. I did not want the waters to be muddied and people to just be drawn into the cancer drama, right? Because then that makes me a different person. I didn't want to go there. So from a support perspective, I think that we need to be very clear about what our boundaries are as well when we're asking for that support.
Marcel, that's so helpful. Thank you. So really, I think it's such a helpful thing that you've mentioned, conserving your energy, and ways to do that, maybe putting all the information onto one group, allowing people to at least be with you through this journey. Looking at it from a physical perspective, a mental and an emotional perspective. And I think that's something that we can all learn from on this journey. And I'm going to hand over to Kudzai, because I know she also has a few questions that she would like to, introduce and share with us and taking forward. Thanks, Kudzai.
Thanks, Megan, and thank you so much, Marcel, and for bringing that brilliant approach to navigating cancer, a cancer diagnosis at work and in your personal life, and how to sort of navigate through both of those worlds. I'm going over to Lorraine now. And Lorraine, with Corporate Wellness Week coming up, can you tell us why it's important for organizations to prioritize employee health, and how the Cancer Employee Wellness Program fits into this picture? Marcel touched on how she got some support from her workplace. How does Cancer, the wellness program, fit into such a picture? Thanks, Lorraine.
Yeah, thank you, Kudzai, for that question. So as you know, most people, they don't really, they're not proactive in seeking medical advice. And there are many factors, to this, factors like time away from work. And then also if you look at your cultural aspects, people may first go to alternate methods to look at what's going on with them, or even the system, like actually getting time off from work, can be a challenge. And then Megan, Kudzai, we also have that challenge of where before you can even go and check yourself, you already have diagnosed yourself because you're presenting with some symptoms, and you're so afraid of going and checking, you start thinking of everything that worse can happen to you. So yeah, and I think the reality is also the practical barriers. You know, when we all have such busy schedules, and when we're at work, the last thing that comes to our mind is, oh well, I need to go and have my doctor's appointment. I need to go and have my checkups done. The thought of taking the time off from work, firstly to even get an appointment, and then to take time off and drive there and have your test done, and then go back and have a follow up to get your results. You know, it's very difficult for people. So our corporate wellness program, it looks at employee health at the workplace. It lowers the risk of illness and chronic diseases, resulting in fewer sick days and less absenteeism rates. So when you think of the corporate itself, you know, there's a fewer disruptions in terms of work time away from your desk. And our employee wellness is quite a comprehensive program. And it basically brings general health and cancer screening, as well as health boosting advice into the workplace. You know, just listening to Marcel and touching on the fact that she really needed nutritional information from our nutritionist. We also have, you know, valuable information in terms of diet and maintaining a healthy lifestyle that we're able to take to the workplace to educate the employees. So it's really a multifaceted approach, you know, to lower your cancer risk. But when we think of cancer, we also think about non-communicable diseases like diabetes and heart disease. So we also do screening in that aspect. So it's a wide range of services and activities that we promote at the workplace that will definitely benefit both the employer as well as the employees, and definitely improve your lifestyle and improve your ability to go and have your health screening done. So it's really a win-win situation for both aspects. And you know, the perk about the employee wellness program, it's an investment. You know, if you think about it and you think about the time, you know, when you have a cancer diagnosis, and especially when it's at the later stages of cancer, when your cancer hasn't been detected, it's a lot of time away from work. And, you know, it's skills that people have that contribute to the productivity of that workplace is taken away when you have a cancer diagnosis, and especially if it's late diagnosis and you need to go for prolonged oncology treatment. It definitely affects the work environment as well as the income for that employer. Because of a cancer illness.
That's really amazing, Lorraine, and I'm really happy to hear that. And I've also enjoyed collaborating with your team, the Cancer Wellness team, with some of the kits that we help to, you know, fill up with the Cancer Seal of Recognition goodies. And I want to bring in here, Marcel mentioned the importance of diet, the importance of exercise, the importance of, you know, a mental health and mental well-being in her journey. And I want to just touch on the seal a little bit, because we support the wellness team by ensuring that they have some of the seal goodies in their basket in their wellness kit. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and maybe mention a few of the seal products that you have in the kits, and how those are showcased when you do the corporate wellness exhibitions? Thanks, Lorraine.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, you know, when we go to the workplace, you often get a question like, so how do I prevent the cancer? So it's very difficult to say prevent cancer, but we can definitely do things in terms of reducing our risk of cancer. And I think that's where the Cancer Seal of Recognition comes in, because we all want to maintain, if you think about the top cancers that are affecting people, a lot of the cancers in our country are actually lifestyle related cancers. If you just look at skin cancer, which is the most common cancer affecting our people, often you find that, a lot of the public don't know about skin cancer or how to reduce your cancer risk in terms of that. And just when you go out to the supermarket or you go to buy a sunscreen product, wow, there's so many there. How do I make a choice? How do I choose which one is best for me? And, it's a task to decide on that. But when you have a product that carries the cancer seal of recognition, it already tells one that, this product has been researched, it's good, and it's going to help me. At least everyone else has done the test. So I don't have to go and see whether this product is going to work or not, because, CANSA has done the test, and it's definitely a good product. So the sunscreens that we have that carry the cancer seal of recognition definitely helps the public in making an informed decision on what they can use. And I think getting the kits from our seal partners for sunscreen and having this on display as at our exhibition tables, or even when we're out in the community interfacing with them, we're able to show them, this is a product that carries our brand. It's good, it's effective, and you can definitely ensure that you're going to be safe when you're using the product. Then the other aspects of it is our physical activity. So obesity is related to so many cancers, and we always talk about how do you reduce, your obesity risk, and we talk about getting active. And I think, the products that carry the cancer seal of recognition, like the rebounder, is definitely an important part of getting active. So you don't have to go and look at gym fees and then, make Kudzai, when you go out and you think about, can I walk? Although, walking is free and we all want to walk, but then we worry about our safety. And also, cancer patients. So when we talk about physical activity, it doesn't mean that if you are a cancer patient and just listening to Marcel and talking about her hiking experience and all of that, it's important for even cancer patients to really know that you need to maintain a healthy lifestyle, even when you have a cancer diagnosis. It's not all doom and gloom and just lying in bed. Yes, there are periods when you are undergoing the treatment that you really need to have your rest to regain your strength and your health. But really, after that, we need to think about getting active again, and listening to Marcel and her positive outlook in terms of that definitely helps. And also looking at, healthy lifestyle, like the products, like the juices, the Rugani juices as well, that carries our brand and our label. All of that is definitely enhancing and helping people to ensure that they can have healthy products. Everything doesn't have to be loaded with sugar and things like that. So, Kudzai, if you want to talk more about that, I'm happy to give input to that as well.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. With all this information, if a company or an organization is listening to all the information you've put through to us, and they want to invite the Cancer Wellness team, can I say that again? So Lorraine, if a company is listening or watching, and they would like to invite the wellness team to their organization to give the wellness exhibition or a wellness talk, what are the steps that they can take to contact you, and what can they expect from this corporate wellness program?
Yeah, thank you for that. But I think, Kudzai, before we go to that, I want to just touch on something that was mentioned earlier, in terms of the mental health issues that, people are faced with at the workplace. And, not everyone has a very constructive support system. And especially at the workplace, you find that people really don't know what to say, when you have a cancer diagnosis and you have someone in your workplace who's been diagnosed with cancer. Because first, it's like, okay, there's so much of sympathy and empathy from people. And even the person who's been diagnosed as well, where do they go to? Because you find that there aren't many many people who specialize, especially in terms of mental health and the cancer diagnosis. But we are very lucky at the Cancer Association, and I want to just mention this as well, that we have telecounseling. And, that is so important. So cancer offers confidential cancer-related telecounseling services. So it's not only the cancer patients, it could be the caregivers, the families, parents, or guardians of children as well living with cancer. And what is so exciting is that this counseling is available in 9 languages now. Often we just think English or we think Afrikaans and we just think of some of the main languages. But the fact that this is available in 9 languages is also a program that workplace and the public can use. It's so easy. All they need to do to book, a telecounseling or virtual session is just, call our toll-free line or even just email people. And I'm sure Kudzai, you are going to put that out there on as a picture so that people can really touch base with us and book some of the services. So going back to corporate wellness, I think it's very easy. We have a dedicated coordinator that only works with employee wellness. So this service is paid for by the employer. How exciting is that? So that means the employee doesn't really need to pay anything when the employer sources the screening or support or cancer services for the wellness. So the frequency of this program, the program is run throughout the year and it depends on the company needs. So, we can go in for a day and just do screening for a day. We can extend it over several days, or even sometimes we find a lot of companies are calling us for more than one time a year. And in addition to the screening and the advice that we give for them, we also do a lot of educational talks. And this is so important. And Kudzai, when we go out and we do talks on like cervical cancer, people don't even know about the HPV vaccine. And so having someone from the Cancer Association that's been trained on, doing these talks and educating the people is so rewarding and helpful to the employers and the employees as well. So, we do presentations to both men and women on the top cancers in our country. We have infographics and leaflets on these topics as well. And we also do demonstrations. We teach women how to do self-breast examinations. So for women, the screening at the workplace will include a pap smear, a clinical breast examination. For men, there's the PSA blood test. Not the finger test, guys. So it's just an easy blood test, which is prostate-specific antigen blood test to detect the prostate cancer risk. And we also have our photo finder screening. So as you know, skin cancer is the most common cancer affecting people, and melanoma is among the top 5 cancers as well. So we do very important photo finder screening where it's quite, it's also known as mole mapping, and it's an advanced technique that uses imaging and technology to detect and monitor changes in moles and other skin lesions. So all one needs to do is definitely just book through CANSA, and we will give you a quote and then offer the screening to you at your workplace. Imagine that.
Wow, that sounds really interesting and so amazing. And how wonderful that this is an initiative that the employers themselves take to assist and help in educating their employees with such valuable information. Thank you so much for giving us that information, Lorraine. We'll be sure to add a picture with all the contact details for the wellness team and how to contact them and everything. Thank you so much, Lorraine. We really appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you, Kudzai. And thank you to the team as well that's been here. It's really been so exciting. And just listening to Marcel's story, I think that you have so many valuable tips, that we can use. And I know cancer is busy with also, once you have a diagnosis, how to manage the workplace. And I think that's valuable tips that we can definitely include in our messaging. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. Gee whiz, I've actually also learned a little bit more, and I think both Kudzai and I just listening to everything that CANSA does and how it can really, the moment you engage with us at CANSA and with the employee wellness program opportunity, it can make a difference to the employees. So thank you so much, because I think the first thing is to go onto our website, which is www.cansa, which is cansa.org.za, and then look for our employee wellness program and then for what you might need. And I think, coming through and going from that is Marcel, just to ask you again, in terms of support and coaching while you're facing something of this nature, what can you suggest to our viewers, our listeners out there, and how to take this forward? What would you say has helped you on this journey, and in terms of support groups, perhaps support in terms of coaching, and something that they should look at that maybe they've never considered before?
So thank you for that, Megan. I first want to go back to Lorraine and just say that is so awesome. I'm so excited about what you guys are doing. Early screening and being able to go into organizations for exactly those reasons that you were mentioning before. People just absolutely don't have the time, right? And then also, if you don't know, why would you go, right? And the fact that you are actually taking this into the workspace and allowing people the opportunity to look at least the big ones, the known ones, and how to do early screening on those, I think that is extremely valuable. So really, really excited about that. Okay, Megan, so back to your question. I think because I'm a life coach as well, and I'm also a change and transformation manager. And what that means really is I get people ready for big changes in their life, right? I leaned a lot on my tools that I knew about, that I used to guide my clients through as well. And I think that CANSA has a lot of that available already. I must admit, I did not know about all of the tools that CANSA had available when I started this journey. So I literally just became a little bit more self-sufficient in the way I coached myself through the journey. And that was literally leaning on the tools that I know works for me. And that would be more as in, how do I ground myself? How do I keep myself in a positive state, not delusional, but positive? Feeling every feeling that I have, every emotion, because it's valid. I mean, every day is not the same. Allowing those emotions to be there, but not making a holiday of it. If you understand what I'm saying, I think there's a very fine line with becoming a victim in the story, or acknowledging and not denying your emotions. So that's what I'm referring to there. And then for me, because nature is something that feeds my soul, I knew the importance of getting out there as much as I could. And even if that is sitting in my garden, or I'm fortunate enough that I live close to the beach to go for a walk with my dogs. So little things like that. And I think it's important as well from a support perspective that, and I spoke about that earlier, that we do have to put boundaries in place. And I'm sure Lorraine and Kudzai and yourself, you've seen this before, where you are diagnosed and somebody then, out of well-meaning, really good intentions, start bombarding you with all kinds of information that has absolutely nothing to do with your cancer at all, right? And I mean, I go back to even just my personal story, as in my father died of lung cancer 22 years ago. So my family already had the history. And so when I was diagnosed with stage 4, immediately they thought it was a death sentence. Well, it's not. That was 22 years ago, right? So it's making sure that you have enough information, but relevant information. Yeah. And also, you guys spoke into it before, as in not going into Google and getting too much information. And then also navigating within the workspace. And Lorraine spoke into that as well, as in, people are going to be sympathetic towards you, etc., and they may start treating you different. And I think that's where you need to step in yourself and say, okay, guys, that is one aspect of what I'm dealing with, but I'm still the same person. We still have the same relationship. And should you have any questions about it, I'm more than happy to support you in giving you whatever information I have. However, I don't want our conversations just to be about cancer. What support looks like for me is when you treat me the same as what you treated me before you knew my diagnosis.
So I think that's such an important point. You treat me the same as you treated me before my diagnosis. And I think that's something we must really highlight for everyone. There's an awareness, you've created something, you're navigating a certain journey and it's different, but that people in the workplace are still supportive, but aware that you're still one and the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. So I'm going to hand over to you. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to maybe, say or wrap it up for us, taking it forward. I have really enjoyed chatting to everyone. Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Lorraine. And if there's something else that Kudzai would maybe like to mention, it would be, good just to realize this is just a short snippet of what it looks like when a person is diagnosed, what their journey is like, what is helpful to them and the rest of the team, and that cancer can help, and that, obviously bringing in things like support groups and coaching for the team and for someone facing cancer can really just be of benefit. Thank you. Kudzai, over to you.
Thanks so much, Megan. What a powerful conversation, hey. And thank you so much, Marcel. I believe we've learned a lot about what a person goes through in their work life, navigating such a journey. These are things that, we don't often think about when you think about people, going through this journey with cancer. And it's important that companies and organizations also have those support mechanisms for their employees, which is lovely because then CANSA comes in and gives that information, as Lorraine has shared with us today. I want to thank you both for joining us today and sharing your insights. And maybe lastly to say, if you are a company that is interested in investing in employee wellness, you've heard it all here, reach out to us, reach out to CANSA, and Lorraine and the team would be very happy to come and exhibit and teach and talk and share and laugh with everybody at your workplace. Thank you so much, everybody. And that was us today on the CANSA Couch. A lot of information shared, a lot to go and chew on. And thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Goodbye.
It was lovely chatting today.